What's up YouTube, Diabell here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to White Forest. That's right, this is one of my favourite decks of this current format. I do like how it kind of interacts, I like the balance between spells and traps, I love the lore behind it all as well, involving Snake Eyes, Diabells, the White Forest themselves. I think it's a really cool deck, and I thoroughly enjoy playing it. So I thought I'd bring you an update from my previous version, as quite a few things have changed, and my perspective on the deck as well has also changed. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. We're going to dive headfirst into the profile, show you what we've got, and as always, explain why we've got it. So, starting off with 3 LZ of the White Forest, this is your most important kind of like starter card. Most of the decks, or most of the versions of this deck do require like 2 card starters because you need ideally a monster plus a spell. One of the only cards that is a 1 card starter on its own is the Sylvie of the White Forest, and of course you're going to be maxing out on 3 of this as well. I can't wait to pick these up in Super Rare, by the way, as well. I'm actually really happy they've got the Super Rare upgrade in the OTS. But the idea is that you've got your LZ, so it lets you send a spell or trap from your hand or field to the graveyard to special summon this card from the hand, and then add a White Forest monster from the deck to the hand. So that's how you're going to go LZ, leading you into a Sylvie. Sylvie in turn can technically work its way into an LZ, which is why you kind of want a multiple like combination of hands. You don't just want to be able to go, okay, cool, one card combo and build off from that. You do need a couple bit more to get you that little bit further forward. And then, of course, you do have the Sylvie. So Sylvie on normal or special lets you add a White Forest spell. Now, in the past, before we got the new White Forest spell in the form of the field spell, you're only able to add Tales of the White Forest. Whereas now you can add Witch of the White Forest, which can also act as an extender, because this will then allow you to add another White Forest card from the deck to the hand. And then that's going to allow you to a White Forest monster to be specific. That can get you something into like the Azamina of the White Forest, and they just kind of let you steamroll a little bit more, get you a bit more consistency and power. So there are secondary effects on both of these cards. The secondary effect on the Sylvie is you have a quick effect to target a White Forest Synchro in your graveyard, or you control it, and then you get to return it to the extra deck and then special summon this card, but negate the effects of the Sylvie once it's summoned that way. So it's just another way of getting another level 4 tuner back onto the field. The second effect of the LZ is during your opponent's turn specifically, if a light spellcaster tuner is special summoned, so obviously the effect of the Sylvie or the Rusia, which I'll show you a little bit later on, you get to add this card back from the grave to the hand, so it just lets you regain a bit of resource. I'll go over the White Forest spells. You can search over the Sylvie just so that everything kind of shows you what gets to what, rather than kind of like showing you all the monsters and then trying to figure out what's going to be added. So the spells that you're going to add off the back of this will be your Tails, as I've previously mentioned. So this one is if you control an illusion or a spellcaster, you get to add a White Forest monster from the deck to the hand. And if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a monster effect, you get to reset it, which is really kind of cool because it's a normal spell. If you do that effect and it resets itself, you can still activate it that turn. Then the other White Forest card you're going to be playing is Witch of the White Forest. Now, there are some builds that play 2 of this, some people play 3 of it. It really is kind of up to you. I did play 2 because I thought it was a little bit cloggy, but then the amount of times where I was like, okay, cool, I need this little bit of extension, or my opponent stopped me searching this, it's kind of one of the ones that if you hard open it up, you then have an alternative option to search. The only downside is if you hard open up Tails and Witch, then your Sylvie doesn't really add you something that you're desperately going to want. So Witch is when it's activated, you get to add a White Forest monster from the deck to the hand, but you can't special summon dark monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. So that kind of shuts off your Azamina engine, which is why more times than not when you're seeing combos or plays with this particular deck, they're going to add the Witch and then they hold onto it for as long as they possibly can, because you don't really want to lock yourself out of darks. You want to make sure you do all of your Azamina plays first and then you activate Witch to get you that final piece. And then of course what we've got, as I try and keep the curtain out of the way, as it is very sunny here currently in the UK. Then the second effect of this one as well is White Forest monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle each turn for the first time. You can target a White Forest monster you control. It is treated as a tuner this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. Now, it's very rare that you actually need to treat it as a tuner, because more times than not, what you have kind of gets you everything you need. But there might be the odd occasion where trying to turn something into a tuner can be very helpful for you. Then back to the monsters, we do play 2 LZ Azamina of the White Forest. Some people like to play 1, again, absolutely fine. I love the artwork on this one, it's just so like dark and menacing. So you get to reveal the card in the hand, and you can summon even itself, which is what makes it really important. The other benefit is that because it has Azamina and White Forest in its name, it can be treated as either or. So there are a couple of cards that will specifically search you a White Forest, or there'll be cards that let you recycle Azaminas, and that's when you're going to get the benefit of both. On top of that as well, you can also fusion summon an Azamina fusion monster from the extra deck using monsters from your hand or field, which is really, really important because that's how you're going to get access to your Azamina monsters without needing to go through Hallowed Azamina. If that wasn't enough, if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you get to add a Sinful Spoils card from the deck to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So the benefit is if you choose to use this effect to fusion summon, you don't have to use itself. So if you wanted to, as long as you don't use itself, you can actually still get the fusion effect and then use it as a synchro play a little bit later on. Keep in mind that it is an illusion monster, but it is still treated as a white forest monster, so you get the benefit of everything you need to, because you target it as a white forest monster, turn it into a tuner once you've already made a fusion play, and if you wanted to take that step up to work yourself into something like a Chaos Angel, you can do, and you'll get maximum advantage out of all of the effects of the LZ, which is really, really important. Then for the penultimate White Forest monsters, we do play the one Estella. Now, in my previous build, I didn't play this, which was a massive mistake, because the way that I looked at it is like, this is a weaker version of the Sylvie, for the pure fact that Sylvie doesn't need a spell trap to be sent, whereas Estella lets you send a spell trap from the hand or field to the grave to special summon a light spellcaster tuner from the deck, so it gets you direct access to Sylvie, and then you build off from the back of that. If a spell or trap is sent to the graveyard to activate a monster effect while this card is in the graveyard, except during damage state, you get to special summon it. You can only use each effect once per turn. So I really did undervalue this card. I was like, it was a great starter. Now the deck's kind of evolved. I took it out and then I really missed it. So it's gone straight back in. It's one of the ones that if you do hard open it up, it's probably a better starter, even though it sacrifices a spell or trap. But it's also one of the ones that if you are able to save your normal summon because you have access to LZ or you have access to your LZ of the White Forest or LZ Azamina, it just really, really works out nicely. The last kind of White Forest monster we play is the one Rusia. So this one is basically a free extender. So if you control a White Forest monster, you get to special on this card from the hand. You can send one spell or trap from the hand or field to graveyard to draw a card. And if it's in the graveyard, you get a quick event to target a White Forest synchro you control or in the graveyard. Return it to the extra deck, and if you do, special on this card, but negate its effects. Moving on to the Diabells, we do play the original Diabell, the Black Witch, backed up by the two brand new cards, the White Witch and the Vengeance. I actually love both of the brand new cards. I think they're really, really kind of cool, and although it's White Forest themed, which I completely get, it would be awesome if there was like a full-on Diabell deck you could build, which I think would be really, really fun. So these are also upgrades as well, and as you can see that with obviously less so the stats, like the stats only go up by like 100 in defense, but also their levels go up by 1. You've got your light and your dark version, and you've got your illusion fiend and spellcaster, so really, really kind of cool balance. Most people should know what Diabell the Black Witch does, but you get to special on it from the hand by sending any card from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then when it is specialed or normaled, you get to set a Sinful Spoils trap directly from the deck. So the benefit of something like that, as we'll see with the other Sinful Spoil cards, your direct access to Deception, your Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, or of course, Wanted. So you've got loads of different ways you can get to them. The ideal one you're going to want to go for is Deception, because it's a continuous spell. It can be activated again that turn. You don't really want to be able to set a quick play because then it has to survive till the next turn. But you do have that ability to always keep sending them as well, especially in the form of the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. If it's sent, it gets to reset itself, so it becomes like free send fodder in a sense. The Diabell's the White Witch is always treated as a White Forest card. Monsters that you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while you control 2 or more Diabell. So even though this is Diabell Star and this is Diabell's and this is Diabell Star, as long as it has Diabell in its name, it counts. That is also going to be very important for the extra deck, as we do have the Diabell Queen, and the Diabell Queen will still act as another name, so it's quite important that once you have 2 in the field, you're going to get additional effects off of the back of the Vengeance and the White Witch. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You get to send a spell or trap from your hand or field to the graveyard to special on this card from the hand. And if it is normal or special, you get to send a Sinful Spoils or a Diabell card from the deck to the grave. Now the card you're going to want to send for this one, and again I'll do the exact same as I did with the Sylvie, is you're going to want to send your Curse of the Diabell. And the reason that you're going to want to send this is if this is sent to the graveyard, this then gives you the ability to add to your hand another Diabell spell, which is going to be your filler Diabell. And this one lets you add a level 8 or higher Diabell monster from the deck to the hand, working you into the Diabell Star Vengeance. So the Diabell Star Vengeance is always treated as a Sinful Spoils card. You get to banish a spell and trap from the hand, from your hand and or graveyard. So both of these, by the point you go through your White Witch first, will be in the graveyard, and then you get to special summon this card from the hand or graveyard. You then get a quick effect to pay half your life points to target one card your opponent controls and you destroy it. Then if another Diabell monster is on the field, which hopefully by that time you'll have White Witch and maybe Queen, you then get to special summon a Tuner Synchro monster or a Spellcaster from your extra deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. So that's pretty much it for the kind of like monster lineup. The only other monsters we play are hand traps, and the only hand traps I'm currently playing right now, just because I play a little bit more of a spell and trap heavy lineup, is 3 Fluilos and the 1 Effect Veiler, because the Effect Veiler is searchable by the Rusia in the extra deck. You can adapt these as you see fit. I kind of decided to make the deck more combo heavy, and what I meant by that is when I'm opening up my opening hand, I don't really want to be seeing Ash Blossoms, whereas I do quite like the option of seeing up the Fluiros, and then if I see this, obviously going first, it sucks. You don't want it in there, but it's those caveats you can't always guarantee you're going to win the dice roll. So if you do lose the dice roll, you have a card in here which is either going to make your opponent with 3 options. They're going to end their field on a suboptimal field, but give you as many draws as possible. With less draws as possible. They're either going to play into the Fluilos and give you as many draws as possible, which is going to give you so much advantage to help you pick your opponent's field apart and just play through it. And then the third and final option is that they have Ash Blossom and, you know, you've traded a 1-for-1. Not what you want to be happening, but it does happen. So that's it for the entire monster lineup and obviously the respective spells for them. Now let's talk about the Sinful Spoils spells themselves. So we do play the 1 White Forest. Now the only reason you need to play one of this, like the card's really, really good, but you only need to play one because it's so easily searchable. So you control a Fiend, Illusion, or Spellcaster, you get to activate one of the following effects. Special summon a Fiend, Illusion, or Spellcaster from the hand, or you fusion summon 1 fusion monster from the extra deck using monsters from the hand or field. If this card is sent to grade to activate a monster effect, you get to set this card. You only use each effect once per turn, but the idea behind this one is it gives you access to some of your fusion monsters. One of the more prominent ones you'll be going for is the Guardian Chimera. Deception, so this one lets you tribute any monster from the hand or field to add an Azamina card from the deck to the hand, and the Azamina card you're going to want to add from the deck to the hand is going to be your Hallowed Azamina. There are additional effects on this one that a lot of people do forget, so remember that if a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard and you control an Azamina monster except during damage step, you get to make that opponent lose 1,500 life points. And if you do, you gain 1,500 life points. It's quite a big swing. It's a 3,000 life point swing in your favor. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn from the spell and trap zone, while face up, you get to set it. Now, the reason you're going to be sending this face up from the spell and trap zone is your Hallowed Azamina lets you reveal an Azamina fusion monster in your extra deck, and for every 4 levels it has, rounded down. So if it has like 7 levels, then you round it down to 4, which is absolutely crazy. So for every 4 levels it has, you send a Sinful Spoils card from the hand and or field to the graveyard. Then if face down, you reveal it, and then you get to special summon the revealed monster. It is treated as a fusion summon, which is really important because if you were having the ability to revive from the graveyard, you can do so. If this card is in the graveyard, you get to target an Azamina monster you control or in your graveyard, shuffle it back into the deck, and if you do, add this card back from the grave to the hand. The benefit of something like that is if you go down the Rusi-Liago combo, the Rusi-Liago combo is basically designed in order to work you into the Hallowed Azamina early. You activate the Hallowed Azamina to get you into the Rusi-Liago. The Rusi-Liago will then get you access to the wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils. You get to activate this, which will give you access to the Witch, which can then access the Deception. And then on top of that as well, once you use the Rusi-Liago and get it off the field, you put it back into the deck, add back the Hallowed Azamina, and you're able to go activate the Hallowed Azamina, chain the wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils, and you send the Seeker of Sinful Spoils. So you get so much advantage off the back of it, it's crazy, because then you end up getting the draw. This one lets you add any Diabell monster from the deck to Diabell Star specifically from the deck to the grave to the hand. And then during the main phase, you get to banish it from the graveyard, target one of your Sinful Spoils spells and traps that is banished or in the graveyard, accept itself, place it on the bottom of the deck and draw 1 card. So obviously you've got access to recycle this and this. And then the other generic spells that I play, actually let's go with the other Sinful Spoils card I play, is I play the 1 Moraine. I actually really, really like this. The reason this is so good is you get to target a face-up special monsters on the field and you change it to face-down defense position. If you throw a level 5 or higher illusion monster, while this card is in the graveyard, you get to reset it, but you banish it when it leaves the field. The benefit of something like this is it's a Sinful Spoils card that you can send from the deck to the grave, whether you're going to be using Foolish Burial of Goods, or whether you're going to be using another way to get it from the deck to the grave. It just gives you the ability to set up another form of interruption, and it's kind of a cool card to utilize. Another card that I do like to main deck for the Foolish Burial of Goods route is I do like to main deck the 1 Black Goat that laughs. For the pure fact that if you set this and send it off of your White Forest cards, or if you just use Foolish Burial of Goods, it's a card that your opponent forgets about is even in rotation, which does set up a very, very important disruption for you. And if you do hard open it and you decide to set it and use it, it can still put in a lot more work for you as well. Then for the generic spells that we're playing is the one Called by the Grave. Like, Draw and Lockbird is one of the biggest pains for this deck, which is why I'm playing Called by, but I'm also main decking Prohibition. Now, apologies, I can't remember who mentioned this to me, but someone in the comments mentioned this to me, and I was like, oh, I was playing Sales Band, and they said, try Prohibition. The reason for Prohibition is you activate it by declaring one card name. Cards with that name and their effects cannot be used. Cards already on the field are not affected. So the benefit of something like Prohibition is I activate it, call Nibiru or call Draw and Lockbird, and then because it's a continuous spell card, once I've done all of my searching, I can then send it with one of my White Forest monsters. Or if I activate it and call Nibiru, for example, once I've set up a negate that can deal with Nibiru, I then send it. And if I choose not to do that and leave it on the field, it means Draw's completely shut off, whereas with Sales Ban, it was only shut off for the turn that you activate it. There are pros and cons to that, because obviously Sales Ban being a normal spell, you would activate it, it would go off the field, you wouldn't be able to send it, but it would be more effective going second, because you could call something like a Detonator, you could call something like a Makumo, you can even call a White Binder, for example, and that would really shut them down. Whereas Prohibition, if your opponent does have a way to destroy this, they can then get themselves out of the lock, but it's just one of the ones that sets you up the resource that you may or may not need. The last 3 cards in the main deck is 2 Trill Tactics Thrust and the 1 Trill Tactic Talents, because if you do get drolled, you can work your way into some of your normal trap cards, being something like the Black Goat, the Last, being something like the Moraine, and still have you for a form of disruption. And the one very important thing about this deck, as a tip for everyone that is watching, is you want to always activate the Wanted during the draw phase. The reason for that is it means that your Witch is going to be a free search. You would then summon down the Witch, which is the first search you would then do if you go down the Witch combo, would be off of Deception, searching you out the Hallowed Azamina, which would mean that you still have the ability to get yourself a Sylvie, which is an Omni-Negate, set up, and then they draw you, and you're still able to present a particular type of effective field, rather than just going draw, pass, game. So that's it for the entire main deck. I'm now going to show you the extra deck, and then I'll show you the side deck. So for the extra deck, for the Synchro monsters, we do play one of each of the White Forest. The reason you only need to play one of these is for they are very easily recyclable. And usually more times than not, you'll go into the Rusilia, and then you'll work your way into the Diabell Queen, and then you summon out the Sylvia during your opponent's turn, which is obviously like a Book of Eclipse. So this one is, if it is special summoned, you get to send a spell or trap from the hand or field to the grave to add a White Forest card or a light spellcaster, which is how your effect Veiler is very easily searchable from the deck to the hand. You can use each of the effects once per turn, and an illusion and spellcaster synchro monsters you control gain 500 attack, and they can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. The way you would then work up into the Queen is obviously like an LZ is a level 2, but it's a non-tuner, whereas your Rusilia is a level 6 tuner synchro. You get to work your way into the Diabell Queen, and if it's synchro summoned using a tuner synchro monster, you get to target a spell or trap in your graveyard and add it back to the hand. So that's when you can be a little bit more sacrificial with some of your spells and traps and go, right, well, once I work into the Queen, I'll be able to get it back anyway. On top of that as well, when your opponent activates a card or effect during either player's turn, you get a quick effect to send a spell or trap from your hand or field to the graveyard to special summon a level 7 or lower tuner synchro from the extra deck, grave, or banished. You can only use each effect once per turn. Now, the cards that you're going to be able to summon off of the back of that will be number 1 being the Sylveria. So if this card is special summoned, you get to change all face-up monsters your opponent controls to face-down defense position. Illusion and spellcaster synchro monsters you control gain 500 attack, and they have piercing battle damage. The other card you can summon off the back of the Diabell Queen is the Poplar of the White Forest. Now remember, the other card that you can summon these cards off of the back of will be your Vengeance. Once I dig back through and find it, but it's right at the bottom. There you go. Is your Vengeance, because the Vengeance will then allow you to special summon a tuner, synchro monster, illusion, or spellcaster. So spellcaster, illusion, you're good to rock and roll. So this one, it lets you, if it's special summoned, to target 2 White Forest monsters in your graveyard and you place them face out in the owner's spell and trap zone as continuous spells. So very good because they can just be used as send fodder. During your opponent's main phase, you get to quick effect immediately after the effect resolves, synchro summon using this card you control. You can use each effect once per turn. Now the reason that quick effect is so important is that will work you into a level 12, which I'll show you in a second, because the other card that you can summon off the back of the Diabell Queen, which I quite like to be honest, but some people don't play it anymore, and for the pure fact that Vengeance gives you that option, but Vengeance can't summon this card out, is the Zapper Shrimp. Now, I'll show you a little bit later on because there's 2 cards and there's 1 space left of the deck as to what you may or may not put in. The reason I like the idea of the Zapper Shrimp is I like the idea that this, plus a Vengeance, works me into a full power Chaos Angel, which I think is very, very important. So the Zapper Shrimp is, if it is special, you get to send one other card from the hand or field to the grave to target a spell, trap your opponent, controls, and destroy it. You can only use each effect once per turn, and once per chain, during your opponent's main phase, you get a quick effect to immediately after the effect resolves, synchro summon this card you control. So you use this as a level 2 light, you use Vengeance as a level 8 dark, you go into a full powered Chaos Angel, which will banish, and then all of your monsters are pretty much protected from battle, and your synchro monsters then become unaffected, which at the point you're probably going to have the Queen still face up on the field, unless you just want to make this with lights, and then you can do as well. So some people don't play the Zapper Shrimp, completely understandable, as I will show you the 2 cards at the end of what will be sacrificed. More times than not, you're going to go into the Poplar, and the reason you go into the Poplar is because you can work your way into the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. So during the main phase, quick effect, you get to target a face-up monster on the field or in either graveyard, place it face-up in its owner's spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. Also, this card cannot use the effect the next turn. During the battle phase, quick effect, you get to target one monster and a continuous spell on the field, destroy them. So you get to destroy one of your opponent's continuous spells and then one of their monsters. Now, the reason you're going to be utilising this card is this will also work you into the Snake-Eyed Doom Dragon. So it must be either fusion summoned or special summoned by sending 2 face-up monster cards from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard, which this facilitates and this facilitates. If this card is special summoned, you get to target a face-up monster on the field, place it face-up in its owner's spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. You only use each effect once per turn, and the best thing about doing something like that is when you're putting a Makumo into the spell and trap zone, it's very difficult for your opponent to get rid of it out of that spell and trap zone so that they can recycle it for the Raigeki-esque effect that it has. Moving on to the Azamina fusion monsters. So starting off with the one you're going to go into more commonly than not will be your Sylvie. So this is your Omni-Negate. And on top of that as well, any battle damage your Azamina monster accepts itself inflicts to your opponent is doubled. Now it actually has a very cool interaction with your Saint Azamina. And the reason for that one is when you're using your Saint Azamina, your opponent cannot target cards on the field or graveyard or banishment or this card on the field with card effects. Your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken. So the idea is, if this was to attack a 2,000 attack monster, sorry, like 4,000, I think is the right maths. So you would attack with the Saint Azamina, right? Your opponent would take the 4,000 damage. However, if you have Sylvie on the field, it would actually double up to 8k. Now, there's been a lot of conversation back and forth on this. It was shown on a American YCS stream where they attacked with the Saint Azamina with Sylvie in play, and it was able to resolve that way. I've tried to find the direct ruling for it, and there's still contradicting bits out there. Some people are saying, no, it doesn't. Some people are saying, yes, it does. If someone has like an official out-and-out ruling for the TCG, then let me know. But as I'm currently going off of it, more times than not, when you have these 2 set up on the field and something else, you have enough for game anyway. But that's just something to be aware of, that the Saint Azamina could, in theory, lead you to game on its own. To work you off the back of your Saint Azamina, you're going to be wanting to work your way into the Azamina itself. So it must either be fusion summoned or specialed from the extra deck by tributing a Saint Azamina you control and a face-up monster your opponent controls. So there is the threat that if you're facing this deck and they have a Saint Azamina on the field and you have a monster that they struggle to deal with, they can just tribute both straight away and get into this card. The top of that one as well is this one can't be destroyed by card effect, and each time your opponent activates a card or effect, all monsters they control lose 500 attack when it resolves. Your opponent cannot activate the effects on monsters with 0 attack, so the more they activate, the weaker they get, and then they can start to set off their effects. The final 3 cards are the one Azamina Mu Rusiliago and the Moa Regina. So the Regina is the card that you're going to be summoning off of the back of the Saint Azamina, because this one then lets you, if it was fusion summoned this turn, to quick effect to special summon a level 9 or lower Azamina, which gets you into the Mo Regina. The Mo Regina lets you target an illusion monster in your graveyard, accept itself, and special summon it. So that gives you recycle some of your resource that can then work you into like synchro plays or everything else you might need to. When an Azamina or Sinful Spoils card or effect is activated, accept itself, you get a quick effect to target up to 2 cards on the field and destroy them, which when you're playing stuff like the Sinful Spoils spell card, they're cards that you're going to be able to activate during your opponent's turn and cause your opponent even more issues. The last fusion monster is Guardian Chimera. Already pretty much mentioned this, that you're going to be summoning this off of the back of the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, and it will give you the ability to pop and draw. The final card, which is where the Zapper Shrimp may came out, is I think you're either going to be playing Typhon or SP. Now the reason you'll play either of these is just for that versatility, because you have the ability of a card like Sinful Spoils, you have the ability to upgrade any of your weaker monsters into a Typhon, and then you can still set up the ability of a quick effect to summon Diabell during your opponent's turn. You have loads of different options for you, to use the Diabell ability to pop a card. So there's loads of different options that you might want to consider. So it's kind of either or. I kind of feel that right now, my kind of final space is taken up with the Zapper Shrimp, but also it can arguably be saying that it's taken up with the Azamina, because I feel I would go through the Zapper Shrimp into Chaos Angel through my playstyle a lot more than I would go through the Azamina, but I do like this as still a threat that your opponent needs to deal with. So, in kind of summary, you choose either Typhon or SP, or you find another space in the deck to take out for your personal preference to fit both of these. Some might be Zapper Shrimp, some might be Azamina. For me, I'm still undecided which one I want to go for. I like the SP Little Knight as it is just generically an incredibly good card. If you get stopped and it's one of them interruptions, could be really helpful for you. And the Typhon is just there because right now in the format, if you are constantly facing like end fields of Makumo plus Detonator, a Typhon can be very, very helpful to help you pick that apart a little bit more consistently. So that's it for the entire main deck and extra deck. Now to move on to the side deck to give you a full breakdown and understanding of what you might be looking for. Now, this side deck does not take Malice into account. A lot of people at my local environment has shifted to the Mitsurugi strategy, so that's where I'm trying to be focusing on playing against that more than the Malice strategy. So, free Draw and Lockbird is probably more effective. Now, these could very easily be Mistaken Arrest. I feel that Draw and Lockbird has a bit more of a benefit for going first and second, and the Mistaken Arrest is only ideal if you go first. It then just shuts your opponent down. But then there is another card in here that I'm specifically playing for the White Forest strategy, which gives you a little bit more of an edge than the Mistaken Arrest. The other monster that I'm trying out is DD Crow. Now, I'm bouncing around between like DD Crow, Nibiru, stuff like that. I just feel that DD Crow could be very good in the upcoming format with all the new support coming out of Duelist Advance. So being able to deal with like striker cards, being able to deal with like the generic Mitsurugi ritual spell, or even the Makumo. Like, I feel that it has a bit more versatility than something like a Bestial, but there's something to keep in mind. Then for the spell that I'm playing instead of Mistaken Arrest is free Deck Lockdown. So neither player can add cards from their deck to the hand except by drawing them, and monsters can't be specialed from the main deck. You destroy this card during your standby phase, the second standby phase after the activation. Now, the reason this is so good is it's one of the cards that you play right at the end of your turn. It's also one of the ones that if you have it set, you send it and then you get to reset it because you'll be able to go through your queen and you reset a direct access to this. It's also where Foolish Barrel of Goods can come into play because then in the main deck you have 5 ways to get to this card. And I felt that it's one of the ones that once I've done everything I need to in all the searches, I activate the deck lockdown on my opponent. And usually at that point, they're going to struggle to pick the field apart because when they can't add cards and they can't special from the deck, straight away it shuts off stuff like the Hippokuri, it shuts off stuff with giving them direct access to search with, even during the draw phase, like there's no way I could go, all right, draw phase, activate Mistaken Arrest, and they go, cool, chain Prez. It's literally just Prez will not give you what you want, and I think that's really, really important. And the fact it's a continuous spell that I don't even need to wait until the second standby phase, I just go, cool, it comes back to my turn. If I want to do a lot of searching, I can send it, and then I'm good to go. I'm then also trying out free Book of Eclipse. I'm not completely sold on this card. Like, this is a flex spot right now. It's just one of the ones that if, again, I'm facing a field of a Makumo plus a Detonator, I can activate Book of Eclipse and it will either bait out the Ash Blossom, which is not ideal, but that is an option for you, or it will pretty much flip my opponent's Makumo face down and the Detonator. Of course, it only outs the Detonator because they can still just tribute off the Makumo face down and then Raigeki. But it's just one of the ones that it gives me something less to deal with. And it probably at that point, they'll use the Makumo's effect to make me discard a card from the hand, which is absolutely fine. Then for the final one-ofs, I'm playing the one Sinful Spoils of Subversion. Obviously, it's a Sinful Spoils card you can search. It's another card that is a normal spell that could be set or added off of Triple Tactics Thrust. And then being able to push a card into the spell and trap zone is very important. And that's just how you out the Makumo. One Harpy's Feather Duster, and then just 2 trap cards of choice. I go with the one Mischief of the Gnomes and the one Evenly. As you can see, and as I mentioned, this is more tailored towards the Mitsurugi matchup than it is towards the Malice. I feel that if you are more worried about the Malice matchup, you're going to find space to put in Lanciers. That's maybe where Droll doesn't become as effective for you, or maybe you kind of tailor the DD Crow to be your Mitsurugi hate, alongside the Mischief of the Gnomes and the Deck Lockdown, and then use Lancier to pretty much shut off the Malice. So adapt it to the environment that you're going to. Like I said, Malice is less represented at the environment just because it's obviously a lot more expensive than the Mitsurugis. So I've gone with majority over, not effectiveness, but like I've gone with the majority of what I expect to see over the general kind of like main meta. Like if you're going to go to a massive like event, a regional or something like that, or even WCQs, you're probably going to consider like Lancers, or like you're definitely going to have Lancers. Like there's no doubt about that. But for me right now, at the local environment that I'm going to be playing this with, because we're pretty much at the end of the season, I don't really need it, to be honest. Where is the White Witch? There we go. Cool. Anyway, Thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'm more than happy to answer them as always. I know this has been a relatively long video, but I wanted this to be as informative as possible, to give you all the breakdowns, what you might have needed, and kind of give you the insight into the White Forest strategy, so you have an understanding of where you're going to be working towards and what you want to be aiming for. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.